Ineffa is here, and if you want to build her right, this quick guide has you covered. She is a 5-star Electro pull-on user sub-DPS, who is also a shielder and brings a new reaction to the game called Lunar-Charge, which is another version of the Electro-Charge reaction. In this video, we'll break down this new reaction, Ineffa's talents, best weapons, artifacts and teams, as well as her constellations and my take on how good she is in the current meta. Hello, welcome to Genshin Filter, your quick guide for everything Genshin. So let's get started! The new Lunar-Charge reaction is a variation of the Electro-Charge reaction, created when Hydra hits Electro or vice versa. And unlike most reactions, it allows both auras to coexist on the enemy at the same time. The difference between these two reactions is that when Electro-Charge is triggered, it hits the enemy over time every 1 second, until one of the auras is fully consumed. It also hits nearby enemies that have Hydra applied on them, and the reaction is scaled with the EM of the character who triggered it. The way the Lunar-Charge reaction works is when it's triggered, it creates a storm cloud above the enemies that deals Electro Strike every 2 seconds until one of the auras is fully consumed, and it can also crit. The reaction scale based on the 3 teammates who triggered it, calculating both their EM and crit stats. Lunar-Charge will happen automatically whenever Ineffa or a teammate trigger Electro-Charge, just by having Ineffa on the team, thanks to one of her overworld passives. The same passive will also buff the reaction damage further by up to 14% when Ineffa reaches 2000 attack. At face value, the damage difference isn't that big, and it's actually worse than Electro-Charged. But thanks to the rest of Ineffa's kit, it ends up being better, so let's cover it now. Ineffa's normal charge attacks are standard pull-on hits and completely irrelevant for her playstyle. Her elemental skill creates a strong electro shield that is extra effective against electro damage and scales with attack. The skill also summons a robot that follows the active character and deal off-field electro damage. Her elemental burst sends the robot flying to deal a big AoE electro damage, which summons her shield and robot, or resets its duration if the robot was already been summoned by her skill. Very similar to how Fischl and Emily kits work. Before we cover her Ascension 1, let's first establish her Ascension 4. Which after using Ineffa's burst, she gives elemental mastery to her and the active character based on her attack. This improves the Lunar-Charge damage for the team, but also improves other reactions that the team might trigger. Her Ascension 1 is a big deal, and what makes a Lunar-Charge team stronger than the old Electro-Charge ones. When there is a Lunar-Charge cloud on the field, whenever Ineffa's robot attacks, another AoE electro damage attack will be unleashed, which is considered Lunar-Charge damage. It being considered Lunar-Charge damage, when calculated with the formula, together with her overworld passive and Ascension 4, comes down to the damage being significantly higher. This makes her and the Lunar-Charge teams really strong and worth using. As for her overworld passive, the first one we covered in the previous section enables the Lunar-Charge reaction, while the other one has a 30% chance of gaining seasoning ingredients when Ineffa uses food. For talent priorities, focus on her skill for better all-field damage and stronger shield. Then her burst to increase his damage. Her normal and charge attacks can be completely ignored. For rotations, ideally you want to use her skill and then her burst to generate energy, activate her Ascension 1 EM buff, and deal higher damage. But in teams with shorter rotation and lower ER needs, thanks to the burst summoning a robot, you can choose to use only her burst and then on the next rotation, use the skill to reduce its cooldown, but you will lose the Ascension 4 EM buff in the second rotation. The signature weapon Structured Halo is her best in slot, giving crit damage and boost attack to anyone using it, which is really nice, and also buffing the Lunar-Charge reaction when the holder creates a shield. This second part is a more specific effect that at the moment is only relevant for Ineffa. Otherwise, any offensive crit or attack cooldown you have will work great. For free-to-play, Katen Crossspear, Missive Wind Spear, Tamiurate no Wanashi and Favonius Lance are great options. For artifacts, there is a good chance you will get a new and better artifacts with the release of Notcry. But for now, a good option is the 4-piece Tenacity of the Neuvillette for a stronger shield and a team attack buff. Or Gilded Dream if you don't need a team attack buff, like in HP scaling teams or if you use her for Hyperbloom. For main stats, on the sand, go for attack, energy recharge or EM for Hyperbloom. Around 150 ER is a good place to aim for to burst consistently. For the goblet, go with attack or EM, and for the circlet, go with crit rate or damage for a good 1:2 ratio. For substats, make sure you have enough ER, then focus on crit rate and damage, then attack percent and flood attack to maximize your passive, followed by EM. Ineffa is very versatile and can fit in a lot of teams. So let's cover our best synergies and give some team building tips. Her best performing teams are with Neuvillette, Arlecchino, Varesa, Chasca, and Clorinde. Thanks to her Ascension 1 high scaling, it helps reduce the gap in team damage between the new stronger carries and the old one that feel outdated, making them stronger and more relevant. As we covered in the Lunar-Charge section, the reaction allows both Hydro and Electro auras to coexist on the enemy at the same time. This allows you to apply a third element on the enemy and react with both Hydro and Electro. And because all reaction scales with EM, her Ascension 4 EM buff, which she gives to herself and the active character, boosts the damage of all these reactions significantly, resulting in unique team mixing with high damage potential that are very synergistic. For example, when adding Animo, it will allow you to double swirl both elements, and because of the way the swirl reaction works around multiple enemies, it creates multiple instances of hits to them. That's why Taser is a great team in AoE, using an Animo driver, whose kit is built around the EM to boost the swirl damage, like Sucrose, Ifa and Mizuki, which really appreciates Ineffa's EM buff to the active character. And the fact that Ifa and Mizuki self-heal allow them to use Furina and not need to waste a healer slot, and go with a fully offensive buff team. And of course, the swirl is also amazing as a support, especially with carries like Neuvillette and Clorinde, who really appreciates Ineffa's shield. And because they can self-heal, they can also generate Furina's fanfares, and free up the healer slot for a more offensive Animo character like Kazuha, who can snapshot Ineffa's EM buff and double swirl the elements without awkward rotations, which adds to his team buffing and damage, as well as grouping, which is appreciated in a reaction like Lunar-Charge, as it's more suited in AoE scenarios by nature. Also with Clorinde, Ineffa enables the use of Calamity of Eshu, which is one of her best free-to-play weapons. For other options in teams like Overvape, when we apply the Pyro elements after the Lunar-Charge reaction, we can also get both Vaporize and Overload at the same time, which are strong reactions that become even stronger with her EM buff. And a character like Arlecchino also really appreciates the strong shield Ineffa gives since she can't be healed. When adding Dendro after the Lunar-Charge reaction, we can trigger both Quicken and Bloom, which makes her one of the best options for Quick Bloom or Hyper Bloom. Again, thanks to her EM buff, as these reactions are mostly reliant on high elemental mastery on the team. But do note that if you play with Nahida, you will probably need 2 Hydro characters on the team to make sure the Dendro doesn't consume the Hydro aura and stops you from creating the Lunar-Charge cloud, so her passive talents can work. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of her damage and it won't be worth it. Now let's quickly break down her constellations to see if they're worth investing in. C1 gives up to 50% Lunar-Charge damage to the team when her shield is active. C2 will do another strong hit when using her burst, and also gives the shield to your party in co-op. C3 increases her skill level for a bit more skill damage. C4 gives 5 energy when a teammates trigger Lunar-Charge reaction every 4 seconds. C5 increases her burst level, which just adds a bit more damage to it. And C6, whenever you trigger Lunar-Charge, she will deal an AoE electro hit every 3.5 seconds. She works great at C0, and her signature weapon has great alternatives, so I don't recommend investing in either unless you really want to. But if you do, then her C2 can be nice for stronger buffing. Or if you're not planning to go this far, then her signature is a bit better than her C1. Ineffa is a solid and strong unit with a unique identity, being both a good shielder and a strong Electro Sub-DPS. She fills multiple roles and introduces a new reaction that currently only she can enable. That alone makes her a standout among the many Electro Sub-DPSs in the game. But while her kit feels fresh, it builds off Electro-Charge, a reaction that in design works better in AoE, and is struggling in the current single target heavy meta. As well as right now, the Lunar-Charge teams just doesn't seem like a big upgrade over Electro-Charge. At least not yet. So the big question is whether this new reaction will grow in value over time. There is a talk of Flints being a dedicated Lunar-Charge main DPS coming in 6.0, as well as the new artifact set, which could completely shift the power level for this reaction. But for now, she is strong and has potential, so how good she really is will depend on future patches. And that's a wrap. If this video helped you in any way, consider giving it a like and subscribe for more field guides. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!